Thanks very much. I mean, we're all sort of on the same team here, it seems. At the same time, there are different initiatives. You've got Sapere Philosophy Foundation, you have differences in your approaches, and the qualifications something else. I don't wish to deliberately try and cause trouble or division, because it's not the point. But I am interested in whether there are any sort of significant differences between sort of the approaches you have, and whether those differences are just, there's variety, there's options, there's choices, so we can all do our own thing, or whether or not you think it's quite important that in this kind of variety of options we have for teaching philosophy, certain things don't get either, certain mistakes aren't made, or certain important things aren't left behind.
I think that I don't think that any one way, what it needs to work for the context of the school, of the organisation, and we've been talking about this at the break about different countries as well. And I wouldn't want to speak on behalf of the Philosophy Foundation or Thinking Space or any other organisation, so I don't think I can answer that part of the question, because I think it would be invidious of me to do so. But I think that if what we're all engaged in doing is really important, then I think, like, in inverted commas, competition is a good thing. I don't see it as a problem at all, and I think that collaboration, as I said at the end of my part of the talk, is actually the strength in numbers. The more people who are advocating for philosophy in schools, the better. But I can't really answer on how we're different, because I'm sure that everybody would be a bit cross with me if I did that. So I'm sorry, that's a bit of a politician's answer, isn't it? But I'm sure the others might have something to say.
I think the obvious difference, I suppose, is that I've gone down the route of tackling the mainstream insofar as I can, the mainstream curriculum. And there's perhaps two elements here. One is that, and here I do stand to be corrected by either Philosophy Foundation or Thinking Space or Sapere, but my understanding is that the foundation there is dialogical learning and inquiry in a community of inquiry and philosophical teaching that's largely happens through the context of those rich learning conversations, which for me has always been the foundation of something. If we then want to turn that into something that, for example, could be assessed and captured, and for better or worse, and there are trade-offs to be made here, turned into something you could examine and give a grade to, then you need to have some sort of outcome from that process. And hence, for me, the conversation and the dialogue is the foundation. And then you say, well, that's a great question. What happens if you turn it into a project? Now, this is not at all incompatible with anything that happens in these other contexts, because but it is connected to things like, is the time to do it, and how do you find curriculum time? For better or worse, at the moment, if you want to have significant curriculum time, you're probably going to have a qualification and therefore an assessment structure and people like me to put grades on it. And that, I'll be honest, there's some trade-offs there, because there was an argument when we started, would it be better for all these things to be done entirely non-examined? I mean, Socrates would have had views on that because he didn't even believe in writing. So yes, he would have had views, and there is a trade-off. But at the moment, my own sense is, let many flowers bloom, but it will look a little bit different once you go into that framework. But there are reasons, if we want to have mainstream impact, there are reasons why we need to move in that direction.